I thought I would just make this video for all IB students to help with citing resources, referencing resources, and I thought I would use a specific example to help illustrate one method which for all of you by now know me for, and that is using Mendeley as a referencing resource. Now, what I have in front of me is a piece of text about the Galapagos Islands, and there's a small paragraph of text with factual information, and there is also an image as well. Now, this factual information has come from different resources which I must cite and I must reference at the end of my document. And there's even an image which I haven't made, but I've taken from another resource. Now, we are allowed to use that factual information from another resource. We're allowed to use those images as long as we cite where those images have come from and as long as we reference those citations. Now, there are many different ways that you can do this. You can do this using a cite while you write app type of thing online, where you type in the web address and it gives you the format and you can put them in manually. Now, the thing is here that it's quite a clumsy method. It's open for error, it's open for misformatting. Again, it doesn't keep track of the references that you would like to use, possibly not only for this piece of text, but maybe for another piece of text as well. So, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you how you can get hold of Mendeley, how you can start an account, how you can download the apps, how you can start taking references online, and how you can cite them within this piece of text. So to help with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a web browser, and the web browser hopefully will come open on the screen. And the first thing that we need to do is go to Mendeley's website. So we go to Mendeley's website, which is mendeley.com, and it's going to ask me to sign in. Now, the thing is, I already have an account. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log out of my account, and oh, it's taking some time. It's not letting me click my account. Let's just see if I can go to the main page. Let's see. So if I log out, it will then say, it'll take me to a page, it'll say sign in. Now, this is the main page that you will see, for example, and if you just scroll through the page, it tells you everything you need to know about Mendeley itself. And if you scroll down to the very bottom, what I recommend that you look at once you start looking at some of Mendeley's many functions, I recommend that you go to this videos and tutorials, because again, they talk about how you cite references, how you increase your library, and so on. So I'm not going to focus on that part today. What I'm going to show is that what you firstly need to do is set up an account. So again, on the top right hand corner here, you can see create account. So if you click that button, again, of course, it's signed in as me. You won't have that. All you have to do is sign in with a different account. You can write the email that you would like to use. Again, it will be your school email, for example, or maybe a home email, a Gmail account. It doesn't really matter. As long as you use an email that you can regularly log in with, you come up with a password that you can remember, and so on. And what this will do is it will, as you'll see in a few seconds when I sign in with my account, once you've set up an account, which is totally free, you can sign in, and here we go. It will take you to your own page. Now, it will take you to, for example, the reference library that you have online. So, for example, here, if I click library, it's being a bit slow for some reason today, but if I click library, it's got all of my different references. It's all online. It's all saved in a it's all saved in a cloud. And so you have this online version. So whenever you come up with a resource, whenever you come up with a reference and read it and use Mendeley to store it, then it will save in your library online. Now, the thing that's great about Mendeley is that you don't have to have this online web address open all the time. There is an app which you can download, and I don't know, you can't see it right now, but I'm going to open it in a minute. There is a desktop version of Mendeley which you need to download. Now, in order to be able to download the reference manager, here again I'm going to sign out, log out, and then I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of the page. And again, you'll notice here that there are 3 downloads that you need to download. The first one is the actual app that you can download onto your computer, and this will be for Macs, and this is also for PCs as well. Now, when you click the reference manager, you can click it and it will tell you what is the current updated version of Mendeley that you need to download. Again, just click it, follow the instructions and download it onto your computer. That will then open up your desktop version. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sign into my account again here. It takes just a few seconds. Sign in. Here is my account. I'm just going to click to my library. Again, these are all the references that I have read and I have stored in my library. These are references possibly that I'm going to use, some that I'm possibly not going to use, and so on. So here's my library, and as you can see, I've got different folders: biology, ESS. You can set this up yourself. You can separate your folders into the different subjects you take in IB, for example, or you can possibly make your own extended essay, CAS activities, whatever it is. You can make up your own folders. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up that desktop resource, which you can download, the resource manager. Again, it only takes a few seconds. And what you'll notice is that basically the desktop version is basically a desktop version of what you can see online. But the great thing about having the desktop version is that when you do have the desktop version, you can start using it to add references to your documents, like the document I showed you at the very beginning, the Galapagos Island document. Now, before we can start doing that, there are 2 things that you need to do. The first thing you need to do after downloading the reference manager is you need to go to Tools, and in the Tools, it actually says Install Web Importer, and it says Uninstall Word Plugin here, but it will say for you the first time, Install MS Word Plugin. Now, the first thing that you have to do is make sure that all the Word, PowerPoint, Excel documents on your computer are quit. So in other words, there should be no Microsoft things open, and then you just click Install Microsoft Word Plugin. It will automatically add an install citation reference into your Word file for you, and I'm going to show you that in a few minutes. So firstly, you need to do this. So once you've done that, what will happen is, if I go back to my Word file, for those of you that use Macs, you will notice that if I go to my Word file here, and I go to References, if I just click it here, in Swedish it's Referenser, but obviously in English it'll be References, you will notice it will have all the different types of functions that you can use to insert citations, create a bibliography list, and so on for Mendeley. So in other words, you can incorporate all the references that you've stored in your Mendeley account that's on your desktop, that is all synced and ready to go. You can put those references straight into your document here. So all it's a matter of you doing is creating a Mendeley account, downloading the desktop manager, installing the Microsoft Word citation app, and then off you go. Start collecting references and you can put them into your document, which I'm going to show you in a minute. So again, if I just go back just to remind you, so you go to Tools, you go to Install Word Plugin. As I keep saying, it says on mine uninstall because I've already got it installed. The last thing you have to do before you get going is install Web Importer. So again, if we click that, it will take you to the web page, and it will take you to your default web page, the one that you use all of the time. Now, the one that I use all the time is Firefox, and the reason that I use Firefox is that it's most compatible with all the different things I do. It seems to have all the different shock waves and Adobe Flash players and everything already down installed. And even if you want to, for example, highlight text and hear it read back to you, it will even do that for you as well. So again, it's a very useful web browser, I think. Now, all you have to do again is go into the web browser that you commonly use. Again, I would recommend Firefox, and you just click the Get Web Importer for Firefox and just follow the instructions on the screen. Very, very simple. Once you click that box and follow the instructions on the screen, you'll notice in the top right-hand corner, you will see this little icon open up. And this is your Mendeley Web Importer. What this allows you to do is it allows you to basically take any website whatsoever and turn it into a reference. So I'm going to show you how we're going to do that today with the Galapagos Island reference that we've just done. Okay, so let's get started. We've got all three things now. We've got our reference manager. Hopefully, as I said, over time you will reference, take different resources that you've read and put them in that reference manager. You have your citation app downloaded into Word. And of course, you have your Mendeley Web Importer into your web browser of choice. So everything so far relatively simple. Now, let's go back to our piece of text. So let's just have a little look at our piece of text. We're going to talk about the Galapagos Islands. So the very first sentence is, the Galapagos Islands, part of the Republic of Ecuador, are an archipelago of volcanic islands distributed on either side of the equator in the Pacific Ocean, surrounding the centre of the Western Hemisphere, 906 kilometres, 563 English miles west of the continental Ecuador. Now, this is factual information. This is factual information. Not everybody knows about it. Maybe they've heard of the Galapagos Islands, but they don't know the specifics. And of course, I've got this piece of information from somewhere. Don't tell anybody, but I got this piece of information from Wikipedia. Now, of course, Wikipedia is okay to use as a reference, but surely there's better references that we can use. So, nowadays, it's very, very simple to do that by just doing a quick search. So, if I just type in Galapagos Islands, and it takes me obviously to the Wikipedia page, which I used to help with this. Again, maybe I would choose this one. This is from UNESCO, the World Heritage Site. So again, this tells me this information. Let's just give it a few seconds to load. So this is a relatively secure reference about the Galapagos Islands. Now, I know you're saying, well, hold on, the text here is different to the text in the Word file. Yeah, it can be. I'm just trying to use this as an example for you. Okay, so what if we wanted to use this resource to present the factual information that I have in that Word file? Well, first and foremost, I need to make this a reference. So I have the web page open. I go to my web importer. It takes a few seconds, but there it is. Now, this is the reference. It's saying this is the reference it wants to add to my library. Now, again, I can tell where I want to put it. I want to put it in my biology folder, for example, or I could put it in my ESS folder. I could put it in both. It makes no difference. I'll put it in just my ESS folder. So I say add, and now it's in my Mendeley documents. Now, if I go here and click on the very top here and I click sync, you will notice at the very top, when I go to ESS, you will notice, well, it should be there, sorry. No, I've gone into the wrong one, sorry. You will notice here is the reference, Galapagos Islands, UNESCO. Now, whenever you add a new reference like this from a web page, it asks you, is this correct? Is this the right details? Now, what I normally do here is I look at the article, I go back to the article and I see, right, is there a specific author for this text? Can I find a specific name? Again, it doesn't look like there's a name. for this, so that's fine. So what I will say here is that the author of this is UNESCO. I'm going to put the author down as UNESCO. So, UNESCO. UNESCO is the author. The publication, again, I would say that the publication is the UNESCO World Heritage Centre. I will get rid of that. And the year it's published. Now, sometimes when you look at a website, it doesn't tell you when this information was updated. So it's very, very hard to actually know exactly when this was done. Now, if you come across this, you can't find a specific year as to when it was published. What I normally do is I go down and I look at when the page was sort of updated and so on. And you can see here the last known updated was 2020, where the little cursor is. So even though it's not entirely correct, 2020. Now I can say the details are correct. And so I have that reference there. So that's great. I can now use that reference. It took me just a few seconds. I now have a reference which I can use to put in my document. How do I do that? Well, again, I'm going to go back to my Word document. And again, I'm going to go back to this very long sentence. So what I'm going to do here is at the very end of the sentence where the information comes from, I'm going to put a space. I'm going to go and click my references box here. And where it says insert or edit a citation, I'm going to click that citation and it will offer you, it will say go to Mendeley, go to your Mendeley file, pick the citation that you would like to use. So for example, this one. And then click Cite. And as you'll see, it's cited the reference. A little number 1 comes up. And if you put the cursor over the top of the number 1, you will notice it's highlighting that reference. So we've got a reference for that information. And of course, when we've cited that reference, we need to then make a reference list, a bibliography. So what I then do is I remove, I add a term. So I say reference. Let's just format my thing properly. So references. And then if we go back to reference file here, it will say insert bibliography. Insert a bibliography, and you will see the reference properly quoted here. Now, the thing is, as you can see, this has given me a footnote, this has given me a reference list or a bibliography. It can be called either, as you can see. Now, again, teachers have told you probably that they like different styles of referencing. They like MLA, I like APA, or you can use this method, this Chicago method of style, but it doesn't really matter. As long as you're consistent with the references, as long as you use the same style throughout, it's no problem whatsoever. Now, let's just go, for example, I think Tia, for example, she likes to use MLA. Now, if I go to my references here, and I click here, it will give me all the different styles that basically we should be looking at. So if you want APA, you have the APA version here, American Psychological Association. Or if you want more MLA, here's a MLA version. So if we click that, let's see what happens to our citation. Let's see what happens to our bibliography. So we see that the bibliography doesn't really change so much, but have a look at the citation. The citations change from a number to the author. So again, it's now going to change that for you automatically. You don't have to go in and edit it yourself. It will reference it all for you, totally in the correct format. Again, I prefer APA because I like the year and the author. So again, UNESCO 2020, and again, if we scroll down, we can see again that the reference list is updated as well. So here we can see that we can change the format, the style of our references, depending on what the teacher's asking for. Or again, as long as you are consistent, if you're talking about your IAs, your extended essays, as long as you're consistent throughout and use the same style throughout, no problem. And that's where Mendeley really does, I think, shine above everything else. Because you don't have to worry about updating the reference list. You don't have to put the references in the right order. As long as you cite properly using the reference manager, then of course, it will do it all for you automatically. Let's try one more. Let's try another way of inserting a reference. Let's go to the second sentence. The islands are home to many indigenous species that have adapted to this unique island habitat. One unique species is the Galapagos marine iguana, which has adapted to life on the island by preying upon moss that can be found on the rock formations in the ocean. Now, for those of you that have done pre-DP biology with me, I always, around about February time, show you a video about Galapagos Islands, and it comes from a BBC4 documentary called Micro Worlds, hosted by somebody called Steve Backshaw. Now the thing is, because that's a documentary, you might be thinking, well, how do I reference a documentary? Well, you don't have to worry, because with Mendeley as well, you can actually add references manually. So for example, if I want to add a reference manually, I can go to this option up the top here, add an entry manually. Now it's going to ask me what type of reference is this, what type of resource is it? And the resources you can choose, and you can make any decision that you would like to make. So for example, if it's a book, you can choose a book. If it is a web page, you can choose a web page. If it's a documentary, then of course you can use something like film, for example, or even television broadcast. So, television broadcast, let's go with that one. Now again, what we need to think of is, all right, where is this information? How do I know about microworlds? Well, again, this is where the internet really comes in for you. So for example, here, I will say Steve Backshaw, BBC4, Micro Worlds. And here we go. BBC4, Nature's Micro Worlds. And again, what I want is Galapagos Islands. Here we go. Click that link. And it tells me all the information necessary. It tells me everything about when that reference or when that resource was there. Now this is where, funny enough, Wikipedia can really help you, because it gives you a lot of information, funny enough, Wikipedia. Here's Wikipedia, Nature's Microworlds. It tells you it's a 2012 British nature documentary series produced by the BBC. The series is narrated by Steve Backshaw and produced by Doug Makey Hope. So we have that information. Let's go back to our Mendeley. So we know that the authors are BBC. We know that the title is Micro Worlds, Galapagos. I believe it is anyway. Let's just go back to our thing here. Let's just see. Yep, Nature's Micro Worlds, Galapagos. And the year was 2012. There we go. Now, if we want to put a reference in, if we want to put a web link in, then again, we can go to the original web link, copy it, and we can put the reference there, and then save. Now my reference is there. It's actually saying it's a web page. It's not a web page. Oh, sorry. There we go. Here we go. Television broadcast, Nature's Microworlds, Galapagos. Directors are BBC. It was published in 2012, and the web link is there. There we go. Here's our web links. So we've now just made 2 references in the space of a couple of minutes. Now we have that reference. We can go back to our document. We can go to talk about that iguana that eats the moss. We go to Insert Citation. We go to Mendeley. Here's the reference already highlighted. Cite. And there we go. There's our citation. And if we scroll down, you will notice that the library has updated. So our reference library is updated automatically. One more go. What about this image? Where did I get this image from? Now, the funny thing is that I got this image again from a Wikipedia source. And again, you can use Wikipedia if you want, but again, try to use primary resources as much as you possibly can. But if we just say map of Galapagos Islands, here's where I got the map from. Here it is. Just click it. And you will notice that this is the Galapagos Islands. Now this is a web address again. This is an image again. Let's just reference it. So, scroll up to the top here, our web importer. It's saying which do you want to add it to? I want to add it to my ESS folder. Let's go to my Mendeley document. Let's sync. Let's see. And let's add it. Here we go. Now again, this is a bit different. This is again a web page. We need to adjust this a little bit. So again, the publication is Wikipedia Commons. Again, if we go back to the image, can we find when it was published? So we go back to the image. Is there any publication data or anything here? Again, we can scroll down. We can see that the dates here, look, 2011. So we can go here, 2011. Who were the authors? Again, the author is Eric Gabber. So we can see here, Eric Gabber was the author of this, so we can type that in. And again, we can change the title. We don't want file in there. We don't want this in there because we've already got that. And it's just basically the topographic map. Details are correct. So it has the web page, it has the publication, it has the year it was done, it has the author. Again, if it didn't have the author, I would just write the author down as Wikipedia. Again, it doesn't really matter so much. You don't have to panic so much about coming up with the specific details. What's more important is that you come up with a way of inserting that reference into your document, creating a bibliography list as accurately as possible. Again, this will help with your extended essays, your IAs. So, we have our document here, we have it here. That's where the image came from. You will notice I've written a bit of text underneath the image, just describing what it is. Figure 1, map of the Galapagos Islands taken from Wikipedia Commons online article. So, I've said it's not mine. I've said it where it's come from, and now I need to cite it. So again, insert, edit citation, go to Mendeley, here's the map, cite it, and off you go. There it is, Gabber 2011. And if we go down to our reference list, you can see it's automatically added it to our reference list. You can see that the format is exactly the same for all of the different pieces of references that you've used, the different resources you've used. Now, before I finish, before I just show you or explain to you why I think Mendeley is so very good, is for the following reasons. Now, what if, say for example, you write a piece of text and then 2 weeks later you come back and you're rereading it just before you're going to submit it and think, hold on, what am I doing? This reference is not correct. I can't use this reference. It's not this reference that I want to use. I'm going to have to go through the whole document again and reorder the bibliography. If you've used Mendeley, no you don't. All you have to do is replace the reference with the correct one. Now, again, I'm not going to search and find what the correct reference is. To illustrate my point, I'm just going to say, okay, what is the reference that's correct? Now, Again, I'm going to just choose a silly article that I have in my library. Of course, you will use an article that basically relates to the correct information. So let me say that this one is the right article. I want to put this article in instead of the BBC one. That's fine. Let's go to our Word file. Let's just say here, we get rid of that reference and we insert the reference that we want, this one. So the reference goes in there. Let's scroll down to our reference bibliography list. You see that the BBC has now disappeared and it's been replaced with the correct reference. It does it all automatically for you. It puts it in the correct order in your reference bibliography list. It does everything for you. So you don't have to panic about writing the reference list again, making sure they're in the correct order. Again, if you hand it in and your supervisor says you really shouldn't be using APA, I want you to use a numbering system. So then click Nature and you'll notice it will change all the reference to a numbering system. It will change all of your citations to numbers, 1, 2, 3, and so on. Or maybe you go to tier and say, I really prefer MLA. Click MLA, and it will put the references in the right format for you. So you don't have to panic if, for example, the format doesn't quite suit what is required from the supervisor, because you can change it. Again, these are just the most commonly used types of references. If you click here and click More Styles, it comes up with hundreds and hundreds of different styles that you can use. You can do all different types of searches, for example. So you don't have to worry about that if you can't find the reference. Again, for me, for my students, APA I think is quite good, or the numbering system. It doesn't really matter. As long as you've got your references inserted properly using Mendeley, there will be no problems whatsoever. Now, again, I'm not going to talk too much about this, but again, depending on where you get the articles from, the documents will update accordingly. Now, as I said, this is a cloud situation. All of the references that you store are in the cloud. They're saved online on the Mendeley servers. Now, what we've done is we've inserted references using our Mendeley desktop. We can see them here. But just to illustrate the point, I'm going to go back to the online version. And I'm going to go to the ESS folder. And you will notice that even though it's just showing up in the desktop app, it has also updated the information here as well. So we can just reload the page and you will see, here is your reference for all the 3 references that we've just put in. So even though it's on your desktop version, it automatically syncs and saves your library to the cloud. So let's just say, for example, you lose your computer, or for some reason your computer stops working altogether. That doesn't mean you've lost your reference list. All you have to do is download the app again onto your new computer if it has been stolen or if it doesn't work anymore. Log in with your account details, your email and password, and your list will automatically update. So again, this is something that you don't have to panic about. You don't have to back up every time when you find a reference. All you've got to do is when you find a resource and you think you might use it, then put it in Mendeley. If you don't use it, then it just sits in Mendeley. But what if you do want to just use that reference later on? What if you want to change the reference to something else? If you have Mendeley open, you don't have to go to cite while you write. You don't have to find the exact reference that you wanted again. If you read the article online, if you read the PDF document, you can just go to your Mendeley files and see where that is. Now, the good thing as well is that some articles come with a PDF file. And again, I will just point this one final thing out, is that the PDF file, as the name suggests, is something that you can actually read. So this is the PDF file of the document. And the great thing about it is that you can make comments, you can make notes of which bits are important. And again, when you go back in a few weeks and read that reference again, you don't necessarily have to read the whole reference. You just go through and see which notes you've made that will help you use this reference in an IA or a history article or whatever it is. So again, very useful tool. It doesn't take up any space really on your computer, so it doesn't take up a lot of memory. The PDF files to some degree do, but not so much. And again, remember, you will also have an online backed up version of this. So again, if I go to the same thing here, again, you'll see exactly the same thing. PDF files of everything that you have stored, all online, all synced together in a cloud copy. So Mendeley, very, very useful for keeping track of your references. So in half an hour that I've taken to just show you Mendeley, how to download it, how to reference, we have now a properly cited referenced article about the Galapagos Islands. We can update it as much as we want. We can cite in different formats if we want, but it's all being done within half an hour. That includes finding the references, putting them in the library, citing them within the text, and making a reference and bibliography list. Now, of course, the best people to go to for advice about Mendeley is Mendeley themselves. So again, I'm just going to log out. I'm going to go to support here on the page. And if I scroll down to the bottom of the page, no, it's not going to do that. I need to sign out, sorry. So if I sign out again, log out. And if I scroll down to the bottom here, you will notice again, as I said at the very beginning, these videos and tutorials. I recommend going to these videos and tutorials. So you've got help guides here. So the desktop version, the citation plugin, and the one thing as well, the very final thing that I would like to say as well, is that whether you have an iPhone or a more Android, Samsung type of phone, you can even download this app onto your mobile. And you can search articles online, you can put the articles online from your phone directly into your Mendeley account. So you can even do it on the move. It's something that you can use your phone for. So if you've got a half an hour train journey, bus journey here and there, and you want to read an article and cite it, you can do it using your phone. You don't have to get your clumsy computer out, your big computer out. You can just do it on your phone. So I would also recommend having the reference manager on your phone. And again, it's set up for both iOS, more Apple phones, or the more Android versions, like for example, Samsung. So if you want more information about how to do different things, so for example, if I click here, the reference manager, it gives you some information. And there's even, for example, videos. There are videos that you can use. And what I've done here, and I've given you this before, what I've given you here, if I go to manage back for you, and I'll go to just IB 19 for the time being, but if I go to files, and if I go to extended essay, and I go to referencing resource, you will notice I've given you a support document here. And the support document as well, if we can open that support document, basically tells you how to download this referencing manager, basically what I've just told you. And it also has this as well, this link here, which takes you to short videos about how to do different things, the one I've just gone to. So you have everything necessarily here to help with how to use Mendeley. So hopefully this has been of some help to you. Get referencing, get reading, get storing your references in Mendeley.